Welcome back to UIT Sports, everybody. According to Deadspin, Steph Curry is Steph Curry again, which I somewhat agree with and somewhat disagree with in terms of Steph Curry's play.
Play right down the middle, politician.
Yes, I am a partisan. No, I'm a non-partisan hack. What's the word? How do I
It's a hack.
I'm a hack.
The partisan and non-partisan part?
I feel like I'm trying to be what Cory Booker is doing to the Democratic Party.
Oh, yeah.
Deep references.
Politicking.
So first, let's start with some elements, Jayar. That's Jayar Jackson. You know him pretty well. You can see him on the main show. He was on Think Tank recently. You've been on everything. It's an honor. It is an honor. And so is Ja'Cory, our Martellus Bennett lookalike, has been on Think Tank as well. Plug Think Tank with Jabari. All right, so Katie on Steph Curry. The first element we got is from Kevin Durant. He's kind of discussing the selflessness of Kevin Durant. This is actually a side of Kevin Durant I really like. So here's the 30-second soundbite following, I believe, the Clippers game.
You know, he's shooting threes like guys shoot twos, you know what I mean? And shoot, you know, you're making them that much. And sorry, my math is not really good, but if you're shooting in the 40s and you end up probably shooting 65, 70%, this late in the season, it definitely will, you know, help your averages. And, you know, so he's got it going right now. You know, you got to continue to feed him and continue to play off of him. And, you know, he's opening up for everybody else.
Selfless comment right there. That was actually from Oracle Arena, so it must have been the game before the Clippers. Jayar Jackson, his game log really quick. We can take a look at what he's shooting from three. He had an 11 of 15 performance. He had a 9 of 15 from three performance. He was 6 of 12, 7 of 13. That's the Steph Curry we know from the last 2 years. Those even 28 points on 50% three-point shooting just is still ridiculous. 43 points on almost 66% three-point shooting. Oh, the number's right there, 60%. At 11 of 15, 39 points, 43 points. Most recently against your Clippers, which I know you watched in its full entirety. And we're a little more optimistic in the first half, about 29 and 11 assists. So is Steph Curry back? Steph Curry's back. Tom Brady's back. Is Steph Curry back?
Well, yeah, I pointed this out at the beginning of the season, just talking generally with a friend about this. With the addition of Kevin Durant, I was like, they're going to have to find their places again because this is another all-star, top-of-the-line shooter and scorer in general, not even just shooter, a scorer in Kevin Durant that came to the team. And I was like, who's going to suffer from it? Because someone has to, as far as their shooters, either Clay or Steph or anyone else that wants to have an opportunity because you're not going to bring in Kevin Durant and not do anything with him. So I saw Steph as being the one that's taking the hit. I saw him sitting on the bench for more extended periods of time during the first 2 quarters of the game. In general, you know, he'd start, obviously, then he'd sit for a long time. And I was like, so people are thinking, oh, Steph is getting put on the back burner. No, they're starting to think, okay, well, we know we're going to breeze through the regular season. Let's have some more left for the playoffs.
So breeze through the regular season, right? They're not going to get to 73 wins. They might get 70. Steve Kerr's like, I'm not even making this up. He has, I think, 182 wins to 31 losses in his career as a head coach. Now, I know he's got Curry and Thompson and Durant. 182 and 33 is the greatest winning percentage of all time in NBA history, and he'd have to lose like 20 games in a row for it to drop to second. And obviously, we'll see what happens to the rest of Steve Kerr's career. I like Steve Kerr. I think everyone's in the same boat. I don't know how you dislike the guy.
Yeah.
But here was my observation. For the first person I thought affected by Kevin Durant was Klay Thompson in the first like 15, 20 games of the season. I think that Andrew Bogut was very good at setting semi-illegal screens. And it made for an easier way to roll off because Klay Thompson's a catch and shoot. The guy doesn't even need to dribble that much. He just catches, shoots, and gets hot from three, right? Then Klay Thompson figured out with the spacing with Kevin Durant, and he started. Then Draymond Green saw a little bit of effect. I thought on the defensive end, the length of Kevin Durant was kind of getting into his area, right? And after about 10, 15 games, he figured it out. Steph took about 40. He was the most affected by this, and even his bad games put him still amongst a top 6 point guard in the league. Crazy. So the drop-off was noticeable, the shooting percentages. He was still performing at a pretty high level. Now he's starting to figure it out how to use Kevin Durant to its most lethal ability as there's a fly on set. But don't forget, Durant's shooting 55% this season.
That's the other part. I mean, so Durant's in. And then as they get this thing going, I don't know. Everyone, of course, is going to predict that the Warriors are going to win it all again. But that's where I saw some weaknesses. I was like, I don't think, or at least I didn't know if Curry was going to get it going again or had a way to get to where they can all mold together. And now it's scary again.
Well, so I'm watching the Clippers game last night, and everyone here in the studio really loves Blake Griffin. for exactly the reason. Man, he dunked all over the Warriors. It's funny because I'm like, look, I'm not the biggest Blake Griffin hater in the world. Dan is. Dan would trade Blake Griffin for half of Carmelo Anthony. Honestly, for just half the season, you just can have him. I know you have a little bit different perspective. I know Jayar Jackson Jr.'s favorite player is Blake Griffin. I love talking about that.
Loves him some Blake Griffin.
Without Chris Paul, we all know there is no chance the Warriors have it winning or making a run in anything.
Well, the Clippers.
I'm sorry, what did I
Yeah.
say, the Warriors?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if the Warriors don't have Chris Paul, they can't win.
Absolutely.
Even without him, actually, they could. But the point I'm trying to make here is that the records tell you everything you need to know. With Chris Paul in the lineup with just DeAndre Jordan, the Clippers are 20 wins better than 500, right? With just Blake Griffin in the lineup with DeAndre Jordan or not, they are a 500 team. With Chris Paul and Blake Griffin, they are 20 games above 500. With just Chris Paul, they're like 8 games above 500. Without Chris Paul, they are 500 or worse.
He's the most traditional point guard that you'll still see. There's still some, of course, but you got your Kyries and everybody. But he's the one that you know him, you notice him, but then you still don't notice how much he makes the team better, which is basically what a point guard
Until
is
he's
supposed
gone.
to do. Exactly.
Until you don't see him there and you go, oh, damn, the offense just does not move the same
So
way.
even so, when he puts up a 35-point game, you notice it then because you're like, oh man, he doesn't shoot like this because he doesn't have to. And then when he does, you're like, oh, now it's unstoppable. So it's such an asset to have him. So then it really shows other superstars aren't as superstarred as they would be without him.
Superstar struck, if you will.
So he makes even guys who can be stars without him even better.
Right. So
usually superstars don't need someone to make them that much better.
That's true. In this case, this whole Steph Curry's back. Why I agree and disagree is I still think we're seeing what it looks like when it's all working out. I still think there's going to be 1 or 2 more players affected. I wonder if this system that they've figured out and clicked with Kevin Durant now, and what I mean by that is they're allowing Kevin Durant to really be the scorer as the go-to guy for the team, and that took a while to figure out because you're talking about somebody who can score 30 points in his sleep without really even trying. KD's not necessary. Here's what I've always found amazing about Durant. I've said this over and over again. 9-point first quarter on like 60% shooting, then like an 8-point second quarter on 50% shooting, and then like 4 points in the third and 13 in the fourth, and all of a sudden you're leading the league in scoring because you're not stringing together buckets, you're just hitting them on a consistent basis through each, and you're efficient the entire game through. Kevin Durant doesn't have a 60-point game, but he's got a whole ton of 40-point games. And in the system that it's working with, it's going to get even better. I think on defense, what KD is able to do is remarkable, but I think that matchup that we can constantly talk about is the Spurs and the Warriors in the West. We really want to see that at full health, and we want to see another. I think everyone wants to see a Warriors-Cavs. If you're telling me you want to see Clippers versus Toronto in the NBA Finals, then you're a Clippers or a Raptors fan. That's it.
I think, I hear you. I think people are getting a little tired of seeing.
One
I'm
more.
not.
Just one
of
more.
seeing LeBron James in the finals.
One
every
more.
year.
One more. See that? No, here's what's so funny. Like people get tired of it. I find it amazing. Nobody got tired of Jordan, did they? Yeah. They did.
Well, mostly Knicks
But
fans.
in general, there's a whole argument that like
Knicks
we
and
always
Utah Jazz
want-
fans got tired.
That's
of
true. I get the payout. That's actually a good point. Now, but I was a Knicks fan. But at the same point, I find this fascinating because we talk about the greatest of all time argument every single week. You can find it. There's a new news story about who's the greatest of all time, one of which is in front of us. And we'd rather try to figure out who's next at being the greatest.
Maybe guys like Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook and all the guys that are packed in the West. We need a little bit more of those superstars hitting the East. Maybe beef up the Knicks and the Raptors or someone and get those
Look,
teams
they can all
going,
come
you
to the
know?
Knicks. I never said they couldn't come to the Knicks.
That's the reason why LeBron keeps running to the finals every year. Not all, I'm sorry. I don't want to downplay professionals because I'm nowhere near good enough. But, it's, but I mean, there's all the talent is jammed up in the West, and then they beat each other up, and then the Warriors come out every year because they've got this collection of the best shooters to ever be put together in history. So they keep coming out, and LeBron can beat up the East every time and get there. So it's easy.
Steph Curry's back. He's back. Tom Brady's back. Steph Curry. Anybody else back? USC football is back.
Oh, it is definitely back.
Sam Darnold.
And by the way, in all reality, so is Blake Griffin. He's back. Knee injury, he's back.
He's back.
Isn't that right, Dan?
I think Dan thinks that all of Blake injuries, Blake Griffin's the injuries are fake after the first dunk he puts down. Like, oh, looks like the knee is fine. Can't jump out the building with a bad knee. That's all I got. Comment below, like, favorite, and subscribe to TYT Sports at Jayar Jackson on Twitter. You can give him a good follow. I'm sure he'll be throwing out some very funny tweets during the Super Bowl about how Tom Brady's back. Jason Rubin 91 at TYT Sports, Facebook.com/TYT Sports. We're putting up a lot of new content over there, and there's a Squares pool for the NFL fans out there who want a chance to win free. Just it's free. You don't have to do anything.
Just stop after free.
It's free.
Win.
It's free. The subscription to this channel is free. The videos are free. Everything is free. I don't know why I get paid. Comment below.